Bullies don't bully fighters, and bullies get punched in the face. They don't bully you again. And a lot of people these days, oh no, you've got to go anti-bullying classes, you've got to have this, you've got to have that. Not all the time. I do feel sorry for people that are bullied, and it happens a lot, but some people's got to stand up for themselves.
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of The Greatest Comeback, a podcast that explores the transformational power of adversity and how it can be, if we choose to see it this way, the catalyst for our growth, healing, and becoming the greatest versions of ourselves. I've always loved the fight game. I grew up watching Bruce Lee fighting Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Game of Thrones in that famous yellow jumpsuit. Watching the Four Kings, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Thomas the Hitman Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard and Robert Duran face off against each other in the 80s. And while I've been hypnotised by their skills, the spinning heel kicks, the overhand rights, what has fascinated me more has been their mentality, the courage it took to get in the ring and become a champion, to go through hardship, to fail, get beaten, to get up off the canvas and go again. Fighting, at least to my way of thinking, is the quintessential analogy for life. Because who isn't failing and getting knocked down? Who isn't in some fight of their own? And if you're listening, maybe you're going through one right now. Well, my next guest knows the fight game very well. Having started Thai boxing in London in the 80s, he became a fighter, training in Thailand and testing himself both in the ring and, I should say, on the streets of both London and Sydney. He's won titles, lost titles, has had more scraps than most, and in preparation for this discussion was described to me by more than one person as hard. He is now the owner of Bulldog Gym, Australia's largest Thai boxing and kickboxing school, and has gone on to produce many national and international champions. He was awarded the prestigious Blitz Kickboxing Trainer of the Year award in 2002, which, dare I say, tells you how long he's been doing this. Nick Stone, welcome to The Greatest Comeback.
Thanks, Luke. Good to be here.
Mate, I want to start off with what drew you to the fight game?
Probably like when you started Enter the Dragon, I think when I saw that, and a few other things. I'm not sure. The actual fight game or martial arts? Because I was trained.
Martial arts.
Yeah. And obviously the kung fu movies in the early 80s. We used to go up to Leicester Square, me and my mates, and used to watch them do all-nighters and just sit there watching, Drunken Monkey and The Hand of Death and blah blah blah, all these different kung fu movies. But I had a guy that used to work in the factory with me. I was always interested in boxing and always interested in martial arts. And we used to go to this club called the Saturday Morning Club. It's when I very first saw other martial artists. It was in a little judo hall, scout hut in Boreham Wood, where I come from, North London. And there was like some local hard men that used to train there, all football hooligans. And they used to love fighting at the weekend. And one done Lao Gar, a couple done Wing Chun. Somebody else did judo. Another one was an amateur boxer. And they used to train together as friends. and swap ideas, and I just went there and put my head around the door, and I just started doing a bit of Thai boxing, which was very, very unknown in those days. There's only one club really in London that I knew of in the early when did I start? Early 80s. I start training there with these guys, then another club, and they grew and grew and grew, and I ended up training in Thailand, Holland, and all around the world, really.
Had you tried any other martial arts before Thai boxing?
Wing Chun, a little bit. I quite like Wing Chun as an aggressive street style. It's very direct, very to the point. But then Thai boxing really took my interest. Really, I like that a lot more than anything else. I went to some karate clubs, a Teng Soo Do club. I did jiu-jitsu, Japanese jiu-jitsu in England. I like that too. That was good. And then when I came to Australia, I did Brazilian jiu-jitsu for a few years and got my blue belt and that. But then I was just getting a bit too old and long in the tooth, so I gave that up. But I've always done Muay Thai, always, and boxing, of course. Yeah, but I boxed for a while in a club and I twisted, I done my knee in. So always done something like that.
Where'd you grow up? What was your childhood like?
What was it like?
Yeah. Where? The reason I ask that question is because oftentimes our environments shape us.
Yeah.
And if we grow up around a lot of
I grew up in North London. It was a much more violent place than I think my son's growing up in now. Like, my son's not had a fight. He's 16 now. He's not had to punch up a score in the street. In rugby, he's had a bit of push and shove. And, mate, by the time I was 16, fuck me, I'd had a lot of fights. I was out drinking at 16 and worked in a factory, at 16 years old. And we weren't rowing all the time. And I wasn't a football hooligan. That's what my other friends were. I was a little bit scared about going to football. I didn't like football much anyway. But I was training a fair bit then. But yeah, we was always fighting at school a lot more. But then in those days, anti-bullying, they didn't have anti-bullying classes. They didn't have this. We didn't have the tech bullying bullshit. Things were settled with a few fisticuffs. And I think it's better that way as well sometimes. It was a lot more to the point, I think bullying still now, there's a fair bit of bullying goes on in the schools, but in our day it was rife, And you can imagine going to the public schools when they had fagging and hazing or whatever they do, when you had to clean people's shoes and stuff like that. Yeah, no, thank you very much. That doesn't, I don't know if it exists anymore, but yeah, I grew up in North London, which is it's an estate. You go one side of Boreham Wood, and it's housing estates all the way to London. We're 12, 13 miles from the very centre of London, from the very Bow Bells, whatever it is. My dad was born within the sound of Bow Bells, so he's a legit Cockney. But go 12 miles out, Greater London. It's called the Greenbelt. So the building it's more like farmland. So one side we had woods and farmland and stuff, and then the other side we had built up London. So we didn't go that side. We used to, my childhood was running around with air rifles, ferrets, and dogs. Chasing rabbits and dirt bikes and stuff like that, and hunting, camping, that good sort of stuff, when a lot of my mates who lived in London were probably into thieving and spraying graffiti on walls and shit like that. Yeah. I don't know. So I had a good life. I think my life when I grew up was very, very normal. Mum and dad, 2 sisters, loads of friends, I went to the Boy Scouts, I went to the Church Lads Brigade, and nearly got sexually abused, but didn't by the Scoutmaster. There's a lot of that going on, I think, in those days. I think the Church Lads Brigade was run by bloody paedophiles. But anyway, I had a real good normal upbringing, but we were closest, like 70 miles from the nearest beach. I think it was Clacton, which is not really qualified as a beach, I don't think, Clacton. So it was a good time on the edge of the countryside. It was good. I enjoyed my upbringing. Was completely normal. Nothing went wrong. It was until I started taking drugs. It did, and then I discovered Australia when I was 20. I come over here to Australia and just opened my eyes like terribly. I was like, wow, this country's frigging fantastic. Girls everywhere, beautiful sun. So England, you're shrouded in rain and mist and stuff half the bloody time, and even the summers in England aren't that good, So that's why I come to Australia. Really, is weather and
yeah. But why do you think you mentioned that you had a similar appreciation of martial arts to the one that I had growing up?
Yeah.
And you tried a few different martial arts. What was it about Thai boxing that made it stick?
It's the hardest one I trained in, because it's like we used to really get into each other, sparring hard. And if you look at a picture of a Muay Thai fighter, he's ripped, isn't he?
Yeah.
And muscular, big six-pack, and I kind of was like, I wouldn't mind that. I eventually did get that when I was fighting, but up until then I was a bit chubby and always have been after that, I think. But when you're training hard, physically, Thai boxing is one of the hardest. It is the hardest fighting sport going, except for now MMA, full UFC-style MMA, of course, but because there's a lot more rules that we can't do in Thai boxing. But for stand-up, obviously Muay Thai is the hardest. Elbows and knees to the head. You don't get anything harder than that, really.
And you wanted to do the hardest.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I was keen as mustard to fight. Couldn't wait to get in the ring.
Yeah.
Mum and Dad weren't too happy about that, of course.
How long after you started training in Thai boxing did you have your first fight?
I had my first fight in Australia, so probably quite a few years. Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years, I think, something like that. 3 years.
Yeah.
And I've got that on video, and it's terrible. I laugh at it now. I did a spinning back kick, fell on my ass. Did a spinning back kick in the second round and went through the ropes. And I shouldn't have done it in the first place. I just wanted to get him with a spinning back kick. I've changed my attitude towards fighting now. And then I got him in the third round, which I thought would have made the fight and would have won it. And I lost on points. I was devastated that I actually lost. I fought a guy called Grant Barker, who became world heavyweight champion, and I still see him around now. He's a bit of a legend in Australia, down Cronulla way. Lovely guy, but built like a brick shithouse. Heavyweight. I was fighting a heavyweight, and that's probably another mistake. So I ended up fighting at cruiserweight, super light heavyweight, a bit lighter. So instead of 93, 95, I went down to 83, which was good.
How old were you when you had your first fight?
1986. So 30... many years ago, 35, So it's 39 years ago, that isn't it? Yeah, about 39 years ago.
Yeah.
Be about right. 1986, my first fight. I said I lost. I was so pissed off. And then I had another one 2 months later on, and I knocked the guy out. And he was a Taekwondo black belt, actually. And I knocked him out, and I was overjoyed with that. Then I went to Thailand and fought over there.
So you were in your 20s?
Yeah, early 20s,
when you
yeah. Then I went to Thailand and trained there for months on the camps, and that opened my eyes even wider than they were open before. And my style changed. And I had a fight there and knocked the guy out. That was a good story. That was when I fought there.
I want to just go back to that first fight, because I read in your bio that in that first fight, your opponent came out to the tune Psycho Killer.
Yeah.
Well, that must have been terrifying.
Oh, fuck it. Here we go. And he was built like a brick shit.
Were you scared?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I shit myself, yeah. It was funny. I mean, you always are. I think it took me about 10 fights not to be scared. I've only had 22 fights. I'm not like a massive professional like John Wayne Parr. I had 200 fights. You know, means to an end fighting was for me. But yeah, I was scared, and it's good to be scared and be nervy. And I remember, like, I was looking. They were lacing my gloves up, and the guy slapped me around the face. The cornerman, not the trainer, was lacing. And he goes, "Don't concentrate on the gloves. Think about your fight." And he really slapped me hard around the face. I was like, "What the fuck was that for?" I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. But yeah, I was quite scared. But then you get in the ring, you get the tunnel vision, and your nerves disappear, and you just concentrate on the fighting. You know, to really stop yourself getting smashed to pieces. You know.
Yeah. What made you want to have another one after that?
I was pissed off I lost. Yeah, I just wanted to get back in the ring. And it's only like, I think 2 months after that one, I think I got straight back in the ring and had another fight. But once I'd won that one, that was a different feeling altogether. So the incredible highs and lows of fighting, I had it both in the space of a couple of months, you know.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than winning by KO. Nothing better. It's the best feeling ever. And of course, you don't have to go through all the rounds of fighting it, bruised and bashed or whatever. And of course, you've won, but then you can get back and do another one pretty quick.
Do you think fighters set out to be fighters, or do they suddenly discover that they are one?
Yeah, discover they are one. Yeah, some do. I mean, it's the training. So the training, like I want to teach people, we've got a schedule. It goes beginner, advanced, light sparring classes, semi-contact sparring classes. So 3 or 4 months to light sparring, you get all the pads. Then you build your way up to the fighters classes. But then in one stage, I say, look, you don't have to do the fighters classes or fight. You don't have to. I used to bully people into doing it. I said, mate, you're really good. I need you to fight. You know, and they go, oh yeah. No one's ever said no. Get fucked. I'm not doing it, because they won't say that. You know, they say yeah, but then they just disappear. You don't see them in the class. So now I wait for the student to ask me. Very important. And I go, okay, you're good. I was waiting for that. So now he's on it, and he asks me. He won't disappear. You know, you can't put that pressure on someone. Really, it's the fighting in the ring. I reckon in front of people and being a best man and speaking, public speaking, two of men's hardest things ever to do. Yeah. To get up in front of a wedding of 100 people and go, hi, blah blah. That's fucking nerve wracking.
Yeah.
You know, and fighting is much worse, I reckon.
Yeah.
I'd rather be a best man. But fighting now, after you've done it for a while, you realise it's not that bad, but it is. And then, you know, the stakes get higher and higher. You know, it's like gambling. You start for a few dollars, and then you start gambling everything. You know, so
what is it? I mean, you mentioned that feeling of knocking someone out in the ring. I'm assuming that's pretty addictive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is good. It's a fantastic feeling. You know, much better than doing it on the street, because it's a long, drawn out thing. You're training for weeks, and you're working on specific stuff to hurt this guy. You look at his other fights on video, and you're like, right, God, he's dropping his right hand, and he switches left kick, and I'll be able to teep him here, you know, front kick him here, and then throw the right hand. And you try and work on this with your pad holder and your sparring guys. And then when it comes through and it works, it's just gold. Sometimes things just work anyway, you know, you've got to win that first round. You've got to be aggressive. I try and teach my guys, be aggressive. Don't take a backward step, you know. But yeah, it's probably the best feeling in the world. And the worst feeling in the world is losing or getting knocked out in front of all your friends. I've been knocked out once in Melbourne for a state title, a Victorian title. And a long story behind that. It's a good story, but we can get to that later. But I was fucking devastated, and it's my fault.
Tell it now.
Okay. So I was living in Melbourne for a year, training with some guys who actually signed my my residency. So I've got 2 years. The story before this is I've been to Australia quite a few times, and I was fighting in England and stuff. And I've been to Australia a few times, and I just left England. Oh, fuck this! I'm going to go to. The catalyst was I was sitting in a rainy cafe in East London doing the sandblasting job. It's pissing down the rain, and I was so depressed. It's freezing cold, and I had a fighters magazine. And in the back of Fighters magazine, it's got World Roundup, and it's got some guy called Craig Kenyon, who I've never met. He was a Master Skin student. He said he's training in Perth. Now this is in the late 80s, and I've been to Australia 3 or 4 times and spent like about 2 years over here traveling around doing stuff. And I read this thing. Craig Kenyon is starting Thai boxing in Perth, and it says Thai boxing in Australia is not very big, blah blah blah. And I thought, fuck, that's me. I said, boys, I'm going to Australia. That's it, I'm going. And I went home, and I basically sold all my shit, packed my stuff up, told my girlfriend I'm going, and I went in 2 weeks, sold my car, and just went. And I was going to stay illegally and get the amnesty, but there never was one. And I took a couple of mates' dodgy licenses, so I was going to change my name over here to Dave Mason, right? So someone what's a name I always remembered, and I was going to stay in Australia. Fuck it, I won't go back to England, not a chance, because I've been here, like I said, a few times. And anyway, I went to Melbourne, and I was training with the Bob Jones guys, who I got on really, really well with, and he runs a big federation called Zendokai, which is a karate associated, but they also do jiu-jitsu, they do stick fighting, they do Thai boxing as well. When I went to meet him, I trained at his house. They suddenly realised that they were doing a lot of things wrong, and I really knew what I was talking about because I've been to Thailand 3 or 4 times before I actually went there. And I got there in 1990, and I spent all of 1990 in Melbourne fighting and training all his guys and working on the door under Dave Hedgecock. And I think so anyway, this fight come up. I'd won my first fight. I won the South Coast title. I beat John Chaniotis, so it was a Melbourne versus thing. So I won that belt. My second fight, I won the Victorian title. My third fight, I had a rematch against this guy from Queensland for the Australian title. And if I'd have won that, I probably would have retired, because that's all I really wanted, is the Australian title belt, show my dad. And I got lost on a split decision. I was like, fuck. And then that was in the year. I had one more fight, which I won. Then I'm just a normal one. Then I went to Sydney, and I got a call from the Blitz magazine, guys, could you want to come down and fight for this Australian title? State title, Victorian title, defend it against Nick Telekuras. He was from Dana Goodson's camp. Very good camp. And when I'd been in Sydney, I let myself get a little bit fat and hadn't trained properly, because when I was down in Melbourne, I was training with Dave Hedgecock every day, running every day, training every day, every frigging day. I was a proper professional fighter doing 6-rounders, 8-rounders. I wasn't messing around. I was not allowed to mess around. Moved to Sydney. I was trying to start Bulldog Gym, my own gym. So I was training my mates, training here, training there. I didn't get the sparring. Anyway, so I said yes, because I want to go back to Melbourne. Anyway, they said they're going to pay me, I think, $2,000. It was really good for that. In those days, you don't get that these days. That was 1991. So I underestimated Nick Telekuras, hadn't trained properly, and I wanted to meet my old girlfriend that was down in Melbourne, and I couldn't wait to go back and see her. So I made all these mistakes, hadn't trained, hadn't sparred, thinking, underestimated him and his camp and everybody. I'd seen him fight, and I thought, yeah, I could beat him, no worries. And I got flu about 5-6 days before. Proper flu, not fighter's flu, and I was pretty fucked. And I got down to Melbourne, and I was just stuffed. Cut a really long story short, I weighed in, and I was 2 kilos over. And oh God, so I had to weigh in that morning of the fight and lose 2 kilos. So I went to the sauna all night. My girlfriend come around, of course, ended up banging my girlfriend, which is a bad move, because you shouldn't be doing that. So I didn't get much sleep, and then I got up in the morning and I made weight, and I was fucked. I made 86 kilos, and I was knackered. And it got worse because I was dehydrated, and you try to put the weight back on, and in that weight, you can't do it in that time. So anyway, I got to the show. My mate John Forsyth was in my corner. He just said, mate, don't do it. It's just pull out. I said, I need the money. So I was skint. And I said, I've come down here now. I've took the fight. I've just got to go through it. And of course, got knocked out in the first round. And I look at the fight now. I just think it's a miserable attempt at fighting someone. And I swore then that's not going to happen to me again. So I trained hard for the next fight, because I wanted to win an Australian title. I wasn't happy with the Victorian or the South Coast. I wanted that belt, the Australian belt. So I got offered to fight in Perth against Phil Lorcan, and he was the Perth champion, WA champion, full Thai boxing rules fight. And I trained the fucking house down, dieted properly, got sparring partners, blah, blah, blah. Did it all properly. Flew to Perth, weighed in at 86 after having breakfast. I had breakfast, then had a sauna to get rid of a little bit of fluid, and weighed in, spot on 86, happy as Larry, fit as a fiddle, and yeah, I won that fight. And then I retired, promptly retired. Right. I did have a little bit after that. I was pushed into another fight after that, which is another story, but that was funny. Yeah. But yeah, so the mistakes that I made every single fucking mistake in the book. Underestimating, rooting the night before, not making weight, saying no, I shouldn't fight. I had the flu. And now all these mistakes that I made, I tell my fighters, okay, don't do that, don't do this, you can't do that. You know, even having sex before a fight the night before, it's stupid. No one does that. You should abstain for at least a week, just so you get angry, you get that more testosterone in yourself, you know. And that, it does work, you know. Every little thing works up to that greater goal of fighting for 15 minutes or 20 minutes at the end of the week, you know.
Yeah. You've trained in Thailand on and off over the years.
Yeah.
What was that first experience like when you first went to Thailand to train?
Yeah, that was mad, that was. So there was only one camp I knew of called Sityotong. It was Yotong Senanan's camp in Chonburi near Pattaya. So I don't think many Europeans have been there yet because they weren't really accepted by the Thais. So a lot of the big Thai camps never accepted foreigners in those days. They do now. It's a huge market, obviously massive. So I went there. I got a letter from a mate called Paul Taylor who ran Minotaur's gym. One of my old mates. He died. He died of COVID actually a few years ago. Sadly, but he ran a big gym, owned a big gym in Thailand as well. Him and his brother-in-law. And years ago, before anybody went to Thailand, I didn't know anybody, Australians or English guys, had been to Thailand then and trained in the camp. So I didn't know nothing. And I got to Bangkok airport, and then I got a bus down to Pattaya, and I got off, and there's all tuk-tuks and that. And then I said, "Oh, Sityotong." They're like, "What?" I said, "Sityotong." Sityotong. And I said, you know, Muay Thai. They're like, "Oh, Sityotong." I went, "Yeah, that's it." Took me out there, dropped me off outside, and it was like a shithole. And there's like high grass. I went to walk in my little suitcase. And no. I said, "What's up?" They said, snake. They can't come in. I was like, "Oh, snakes." Went round anyway, saw this guy. And the things that stand out in your mind was, can I go to the toilet? And I said, just there. And there's a hole in the floor of the shack. And I just pissed in the hole in the floor, and then on the side was a bowl of water, and in the bowl of water was a little frog swimming around the bowl of water, and I was like, "What the fuck's this? What's going on here?" Don't wipe my ass with a frog or the thing. So anyway, I just pissed down there, but I stayed there, and I met this guy from England that was there, and I met a Swedish guy, Dennis Seago, a Swedish Thai boxing champion, and that was us. Then I trained there every day, but the training in Thailand is completely different because you've got to get up in the morning, go for a run, then train for a couple of hours, then eat, sleep, and then repeat, right? And that repeat it twice a day, 7 days a week. So when you're in England or Australia, you train once a day, fuck around, eat shit, go on the piss, smoke weed, whatever. People are not even doing it closely. What's in Thailand, they get a big shock when they go to Thailand, you know. I've just come back from there like last couple of weeks ago, and I took my son, and he got a massive shock. You know, blisters on his feet, and like he was knackered all over where they've been throwing him from the clinch. But it was great, and the training was brilliant. You know, all got sick. So I was drinking from the same well that they had there. The food was real Thai. To the extent I went to the guy there, no one spoke English there at all, the trainers. And I said, "What's this gristly? What's this meat here?" And he went, "Woo, woo, 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 dog." And I was like, "No way." He goes, "Yeah, dog." Pulled out his 45. I was like, "Look, dog, we'll shoot dog." I was like, "Oh, you mad fuckers." And they had a few people come to the camp, a few Dutch guys, a couple of German guys over the months that I was there. And yeah, I went home, went back to England after that. So that's 86. So the end of 86, I went to Thailand for a bit, and then come back to England, and went back to England, went up the pub. That's another story. Went to the pub, and my guy is sitting there in the same jumper, same place in the pub. I went, "Oh, Nick, how you going? Well, where you been staying in?" And I just looked at this guy, I just thought, fucking hell, this is fucking mad, you know. And this guy's done nothing. I've been in Australia for a year, I've been in Thailand for months, and then I've been to Bali, and then I come over here, and you're in the same place, in the same pub, drinking the same beer. I'm getting out of this place, you know? So I strive to get out of here, and yeah, I did in the end. It worked out really well.
I was wondering whether I want to read something that I read in your bio, and I was hoping that you could just kind of flesh this scene out, because it did make me laugh. I'll read this to you. And this is in relation to your first fight in Thailand.
Yeah.
In the first fight I had in Thailand, I got kneed so hard in the guts that I went through the ropes and landed on the concrete gravel floor. I actually thought I shat my pants.
Yeah.
Can you describe that?
Okay, so I fought a Thai. I'm training in the camp. They go, "Nick, you fight tomorrow." I was like, "What?" "Yeah, you fight." He said, 250 baht. You know, it's whatever. It's like $10. I went, yeah, of course. And it's a place called the Best Friend Bar now. Everybody in Australia's fought in the Best Friend Bar now, and because the guys from Sityotong run it. So I said, this is 1986, and out the back of the camp, they rub you down the oil and blah, 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 blah. And all the little peanut-selling kids are running around pinching you and going, "Come on, you've got your big fight," grabbing your muscles. It's hilarious, yeah. And it's full of fucking Marines, because the Marines go in there to Pattaya, so they pull in. It's the Best Friend Bar. So, of course, I shit myself. The guy come up to me, this big, tall, skinny Thai. So he would have been about maybe 75 kilos, but he was 6'2", which is big for a Thai. And I'm 6 foot, and I was 90 kilos. But he probably had like 300 fights. I'd had 2, you know. And he goes, no elbow. And I went, yeah, no problem, no elbow. I thought, is he lying? Is he going to elbow me? I'm going from my head. And they wrap you up. A big pair of used 16-ounce gloves, but no shin pads, nothing. I had a metal groin guard on. Anyway, so in the first round, he kneed me, and my clinch game wasn't very good. So he kneed me right in the guts, and my arse went through the ropes. The ropes were all loose, and I fucking went in my pants. And I fell into the gravel and the chairs, and all the Marines picked me up and threw me back in the ring. And I thought, oh, fuck, there's a nugget in my fucking bum. But because the drawstring goes right up your arse crack and your pants, I thought it just squidged in there, a big lump of poop. And I was still punching and kicking this guy. I think it's going to come flying out in a minute. This is outrageous. I thought, no, please, no. And I'm more worried about that than fighting this guy that I'd actually done a turd in my pants. Because it's the groin guard, it goes around your waist. It's like rope, and they pull it up and tie a huge knot. And the metal groin guard's padded, but it goes really hard in your nuts. Because kicking in the groin is still allowed in Thailand. It's a bit of a no-no, but you can do a groin kick. Anyway, so I knocked him out in the third round. I was getting fucking hammered in the clinch, and the guy, I just kept pulling him in. In the end, I just went hard with the hand, and I dropped him, knocked him out. He's probably brain dead anyway. I don't know, but I got it. I was just too big. I was 20 kilos bigger than him, but I smashed him in there. Knocked him out, and I was a big hero. All the peanut sellers giving me free peanuts, and the bar girls going, "Whoa, Nick!" Anyway, the funny thing was, I thought, right, get me in the toilets quick. So they got this horrible little shack with a hose pipe sticking out the wall, and I said to the mum, saying, "Come shower." She says, "Yeah, get in the shower, get in the shower." So I quickly stripped my shorts off, took off the groin guard, and went, had a look. Oh, that's not. So I just done a fart, there's nothing else. Like, yes, and then boom, the fucking mum was saying, kicks the door open, and for this whole hundreds of people in the bar laughing, kicks the door open, and I'm like, woo, and she hands me a beer and slaps me on the arse and goes, "Good fight, Nick, good fight, Nick," and then shuts the door again. I can hear everybody cheering and laughing outside. That was the best night of my life. That was so funny.
Incredible.
Oh, it's great. It's a good story. Yeah.
Incredible.
But then I didn't fight again after that. I got a bit sick there, and then just continued on with the training. But yeah, then I went back to England, and fighting I was all over it. I was into it, and I had quite a few knockout, won loads by knockout, and fighting was good until I got done myself. That's that.
I think you fought for the British title twice against Trevor Clark.
That's right. Yeah.
And on one of those occasions, you got beaten quite badly.
Oh, yeah.
In front of
You
your
broke
mum and
my
dad
nose,
and your friends.
Yeah.
Were
That
there
was
moments?
bad.
Were there moments over the course of your fight career where you thought, this is not for me?
Yeah, that moment was pretty, this is not for me. Because I've been fighting South London and Thailand and Australia, no one really saw my fights, just heard the good stuff. And then I had a fight at Cricklewood, which is very close, like a couple of miles from where we live. So everybody come down to watch me fight for the British title. And mum and dad, sisters. And I got fucking hammered in the first round. He just smashed me up. He was a big, massive black guy like Mike Tyson. He went on to win a world title anyway. He was an instructor at Bricks and Vipers. I've become friends, actually. He's a nice guy. He smashed my nose, deviated my septum, and it's still deviated now. I had an operation. Still not fixed. But yeah, that was a bad one, that was. So I kind of took a few steps back after that, because I actually thought I was invincible and I could fight anybody, and I come crashing down to earth pretty fucking quick with that one, like this other one in Australia, which I just described earlier on. I'd won, and then bang, I got fucking smashed. It just depressed me, but I kept going, and I fought him again in semi-contact because I just wanted to keep active, so I was doing semi-contact, which is quite hard anyway. You have a lot more fights, and he beat me again for the British title in semi-contact. But yeah, then I went to Australia and had more pro fights over there. So yeah, then I got done again, but then I ended up winning. But yeah,
what would be the range of emotions that you'd go through after a loss?
I'd say it's the biggest high and the biggest low when you win and lose. And when you lose, there's always an excuse. Of course, I just made about 10 there for my fight in Melbourne. But the one in England, there was no excuse. I just got beaten up, by a bigger, stronger heavyweight. So I didn't fight heavyweight after that fight, by the way. That was probably 93, 95. So I like to eat. I could quite just stay at that weight, not worry about weigh-ins and stuff. Then I realised, no, this is too big. 10 kilos of muscle on someone and size is too much, It just comes down to that after a while. But yeah, when you win, you're on a high for weeks. When you lose, you're on a low for weeks. You do get over it. And the more times you lose, the more you do realise, oh, well, I had a fucking good go. I used to say to myself, look, I had a good go. And I did my best, so that was actually okay for me. So I wasn't really too depressed. That losing in front of your friends and family is a bit of a bummer. That's embarrassing. But
what would make you want to come back after a loss?
Just because I don't want to go out on a loss. You want to redeem yourself, show people that you are a real winner, I think. But also was a goal of fighting. My goal was teaching I wanted to become an instructor in Australia. That's my main aim, which I have done. And I wanted to be a champion as well. So I'd show my dad that I wasn't wasting my time over here fucking around, you know. When I had the picture of the belt draped over my shoulder and another one around my waist, sent the picture home to Dad. It was on his mantelpiece when I went back to see him, and I was very happy about that because I didn't think they really cared, but they did severely, you know. So just to show I'm doing well here, you know what I mean. In Australia, that is. But yeah, it's the biggest high and low ever. And like my fighters, I mean, I've been in the corner for thousands of them now, thousands of my fighters over the years, and in the past 35 years of Bulldog Gym in Sydney, we've had thousands. And yeah, I could see the depression on their face at their loss and stuff. But you know, I just try and put across my point of view and my experience to those guys, and hopefully it works for them. And I've been through it all: the highs, the lows, the diets, the getting knocked out, knocking people out, the draws, you know, stuff like that. You know.
You mentioned you wanted to show your dad evidence of what you've been doing in Australia.
Yeah.
What was your relationship like with your dad?
Yeah, we were pretty close, but not as close as I think I probably wanted to be. He's an ex-soldier. He went through the whole Second World War, so he's a bit of a quiet man. Very small. Had polio when he was born. He had no muscle there. Was in the army and was a sniper. He went through Tobruk, the Sicily campaign, I think, and ended up the African campaign. Italy stuff. We were pretty close, but you know, he didn't take me out camping, and you know, I don't know. We were all pretty close, I think. Yeah.
What did he think of your fighting?
Yeah, he probably didn't want me to do it, but I think he did. His dad was a boxer, so his dad was a police sergeant and was a boxer too. He's a big dude, like 6'2", strapping copper, and you know, perhaps I sort of emulated him in his eyes a little bit. So I've got two older sisters. Yeah. So, and you know, I was the only son, the unplanned one, and then I become a fighter. You know, so maybe he liked it deep down. You know? He never really expressed it. He didn't say, Nick, I don't really want you to do that again. You know, it's all right. It's pretty good. Yeah.
You mentioned this a little earlier, but I'll read you the quote that I read. I must say, I'm not the best fighter. I tried hard, was fit and fairly tough, but I knew my limits.
Yeah.
What were your limits?
Well, after I got to the Australian title, that kind of standard when you're fighting pro, I was actually, you know, late 20s then. And the limits are what you put upon yourself, but also what you can get hold of. See, living in Melbourne, I lived in a group of guys who were all fighters, all bouncers, and all trainers, and we had a gym in our back garden. Then I moved to Sydney. I didn't have a gym until I sort of opened my own one, really, in a couple of years. So I didn't have the sparring, I didn't do this, and I didn't have a coach to hold pads for me every day and tell me where I was going wrong when I did in Melbourne every day. And there's your limits there. And of course, you know, if you haven't got someone, the diet goes out the window, and then you've got girlfriends and partying and everything like that. You put limits on yourself, I suppose. You've got to, being a fighter these days, it's fucking hard work. You know, you really got to train hard, eat well, not party too much. You know. And basically, 3 rounders maybe a lot easier. I used to do 3 rounders every weekend, and now, you know, you need 6 weeks, 8 weeks notice for a fight, and people go into fucking fight camp, and then they say train hard, and I think it's a load of wank for a 3-rounder fight camp, but it's a thing now. People say, "Oh, I've got to go into camp," you know, shut up. But these things have changed in 35 years, 40 years since when I was fighting. You know, it's different, completely different now. You know, and the level of fighters now is so much better. It's much better. I reckon some of the guys had 2 or 3 fights now are comparable to guys in those days. It's just the knowledge of fighting is, you know, it's gone through the roof. I trained in Australia and trained in England a lot, and then trained in Thailand. And then the first time I went to Holland to train there, it fucking was a big eye opener. And I got knocked out and fucking smashed in the gym and trained with fighters who are completely different level to me. It was amazing. And they had full-time gyms with saunas and bars and vitamin shops and stuff like that. It was unbelievable. I really opened my eyes. That's just Chakariki gym was really good, and we trained at a few other gyms, Voss, Sitang gym and stuff, and I was just like, wow, this is just full-time guys have got it sussed. They're way ahead of England at that time, you know. So when I come to Australia, I tried to emulate that, try and make my gym half Dutch style, half Thai style, you know. So not exactly, what's the word I'm looking for? Traditional.
What is the Dutch style?
Dutch style is a short, aggressive, fast, hard sparring rounds. They do a lot of that. So there's Thai style, which they're long, long technical kind of pad work, so lots of grappling, light sparring, okay, but they do longer, super in fitness, and they train hard twice a day. Dutch style, you run in the mornings and you train 1 hour in the afternoons, and you spar hard, and they do like nearly, so it depends what gym you go to, but they do a thing called Dutch style sparring, but it's all combination sparring. So you go punch, punch, kick, block, and it's some of it's pre-form, some of it's freestyle, but they do a load of sparring. And in fact, I've got a girl come over from Holland, trained at a gym there, and she'd never held forearm pads in 2 years. I mean, like, that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? So they don't actually do any Thai style kicking the pads. It's all each other. So they get the pads on straight away and then just work on the body, which is really good. So we do that a fair bit, maybe 5 times a week, and then we do pad work as well. You know, you can't get beginners in kicking each other straight away. It doesn't work. So they'll get hurt. Even if you do it very, very lightly, they can't do it. You know, you get hurt. You've got to build yourself up a little bit in training. You know,
if you were to stack rank the following 3 fight attributes.
Yeah.
From most important to least important, how would you do it? I'll give you the 3 that I've got in mind.
Yeah.
Technique.
Yeah.
Fitness.
Yeah.
Mentality.
Oh, Jesus, they're all the same. Depends on the fighter, you know. Mentality on a tough guy who's fit. He's a fit nutcase. It's really hard to beat. Technique, though, of course, that's a real hard one. I don't think they stack up like that. Yeah, you can't say that's definitely the one. Fitness, yeah. I mean, obviously you've got to be fit, and you got to be mentally tough, and you've got to have the technique. And so it's all part of the same thing. Yeah, but like let's say 2 karate styles. A Goju-Ryu, right, which is more a soft style, although these are self-defense, not fighting styles. Then you got Koikishin, right, which is knockdown karate. They bash each other, bare fists in the chest, kick each other in the legs, hard as nails. I'd put that against anybody any time, those Koikishin fighters. Koikishin fighters make fantastic Thai boxers.
Really?
Yeah, they always do, yeah. And they just kick and thump each other. They don't punch to the face, but everything else goes. Jumping knees to the head, kicking to the head, and they've got some fantastic technique. But then you've got another style like Goju who don't spar hard at all. They do a lot of forms. They do a lot of this. Not that I've ever done it, but what I've seen. And it's a bit wishy-washy. So you get like some kung fu clubs. I've been into some kung fu clubs, and it's wishy-washy. They don't hit each other. They don't do any hard training on the bags or the pads or stuff like that, you know, plyometrics when you're aggressively pushing your body, you know. They just go through katas and stuff. It's just a load of wank. You're going to get someone to smack you straight in the face. You know, it's not fighting style. But then again, you get a hard fucker who does a karate style. He'll knock you out pretty quick, you know. So it's a funny thing. Like,
while you were fighting, you were doing nightclub security.
Yeah.
How well did you find that your Thai boxing skills translated to the streets?
Just 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I'm so glad I did it because I got a lot of fights on the door. You do as a doorman, you just have a lot of fights. And this is a little bit in the days, the early 90s, and so about 10 years I did door work for and security and like rock and roll security. Rock and roll security, you don't have to fight people. You might have to throw someone off stage or shit like that. But when you're working in the pubs with like 5 or 6 other bouncers, and everybody gets pissed, you have to know how to fight, and it comes in very, very handy, you know. But you got to realise I'm a big guy. I work with a lot of big guys. You do get started on by little dweeby guys who are pissed or coked up or whatever. And I'm stone cold sober and tooled up as well. I always went to work tooled up, like with a stick, like I had a policeman's bat. Never, ever once went to work not carrying a weapon, but the baton only. It's just a big scary baton. I just put it above the door. Some fucker pulls a knife on you. You've got to stand with your dick in your hand. You've got to smack them straight away. But also with your hands. I mean, you did realise how many people just don't know how to fight, and they try and grab you by the lapels or run at you and do stupid things like that. And you'll stand there like sober, and they're pissed. It's easy, you know. It's so easy. But I've been clomped a couple of times though. Been caught unawares and been smacked. I got into a fight once at the pub, and I was pissed, and I'd been up all night on the old pingers, and I'd been out all night, and then went to the after party and been there drinking all day, and got into a fight, and got smacked, and got my head cut open, and I kind of regretted that in front of a lot of people. That's the way it goes. It didn't really bother me too much, but that was fighting a load of cowboys. It was after the Easter show, and I was working in a pub called the Saloon, and they fucking brought a Brahma bull in to the bar. You know how big they are. They're like weigh 2 ton. And he's riding it in the bar and was like, mate, can you not do that? Get out. And it was just these massive horns of guys. They were like about 300 cowboys in there, probably country boys. all built like big shit houses anyway. And that fight broke out, and I got involved, and then I got fucking king hit from the side, then kicked around a little bit. That's the way it goes.
Do you think that made you a better Thai boxer?
Not really, but I just took it. I went downstairs, stopped the bleeding and the cut in my head, and went upstairs. My mates going to these big cowboys, come fucking fighting 1-on-1 outside. They're going, yeah, okay, yeah. And I was like, no, I don't care. Don't worry about it, mate. It's all good. I wasn't going to fight. My head was spinning like a top. You know what I mean? And I hadn't slept, and I was, basically off my head a little bit. But you don't want to fight when you're drunk. So anybody out there who's listening, if you want to start on a bouncer when you're pissed and you think you're full of bravado, you've got to realise these guys all train MMA. They can't wait to get hold of you and hit you, although they can't these days. There's cameras everywhere. In those days, there wasn't many cameras. But you're fighting with a trained guy and you're not going to win. So don't go calling the police when you get knocked out and start saying you hit me, because it's your fault if you're pissed. So, yeah, basic rule of thumb, if you're pissed, don't fight. It's a bad move,
It's good advice.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I mean, I wasn't unjust to anybody, but I did get started on by people quite a few times and had to punch my way out of it, which really, it's the way it goes. It didn't bother me at all. But I didn't really, I only hurt one person really badly, but he deserved it, so. Hope he's not listening, but yeah.
You had, you mentioned you had 22 fights over the course of your career.
Yeah.
What would you call out as the highlight and the low light?
The lowest was my first fight when I lost because I expected so much of myself.
Yeah.
I didn't get bashed up, just lost some points. When I actually thought I'd won, I was too depressed. And then my last fight, when I won the Australian title. Yeah, and that was it really. All in between was a learning curve, and it all led up to that main thing. But I was probably lucky to win that fight in the end, my last fight. But then I was happy, then I retired. But I did have one fight after that, which is quite a funny story, if I can tell you that. All right, so I've been teaching for a couple of years. I had my own gym, had a lot of fighters, and there's a thing called an open competition. There's a Kung Fu open comp, right? So it's Alexandria Basketball Stadium, and we used to do a lot of Kung Fu because you could use knees and you could elbow the body and no shin pads. In those days, you weren't allowed to do Thai boxing in New South Wales. You had to wear shin pads, and there's no elbows and no clinching the knees. It's completely wank. And you could do it in Queensland or Perth, and that's why they went so much further than us, because for years we couldn't do Thai boxing. Anyway, so we went to this open Kung Fu thing, and it's on the mats. It was bare fist, bare shins. You could do anything to the head. You could jump up knee and kick the head if you want, but you couldn't punch to the face, but it's bare fists. So we took about 10 of our guys. Some guys did semi-contact, some guys did full contact. Anyway, the promoter came up to me in the morning and said, Nick, the guys pulled out of the main event, like the main event, the heavyweight title. Can you do it? I went, no, I'm retired. I haven't fought for ages. She goes, please, 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 please. I went, oh, for fuck's sake. I haven't got my mouth guard. And one of my guys goes, I'll go get it. So will you do it? I went, who is on my fight? She goes, oh, it's a guy from Singapore. I went, I'll do it. No worries. All right. Got a few pats on the back. And she goes, who's this guy? She goes, they're a Hong Kong team come over. He's come away from Hong Kong and he's a heavyweight. And I said, all right, I'll fight him. So halfway through the show, they go, now we've got the Hong Kong team coming out for a break-in demonstration. And this guy come out like Bolo from Enter the Dragon, right? I was like, I hope that's not him. And they're breaking 2 befores over his forearms, and he's got a coconut, right? And he goes, bang, and smash it with his fist, a coconut, a big coconut, a couple of those. And all the boys are laughing. You got to fight in better fists later on. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to get tooled up here really badly. And I was thinking, oh, God, he was a bit smaller than me, but like, Bolo from Enter the Dragon. Bolo.
Yeah.
It was, so anyway, we got to the main event, and I got out there. And had,
Did you say you did fight in bare fist?
Yeah, bare. So it's bare fist, but you could punch to the body and kick to the legs and kick to the head, but no punching to the face.
Okay.
So it's like knockdown rules. And he came out with body armour on, the big poofter. I couldn't believe it, and I told him, I goes, we're not wearing body armour, we're harder than that. Body armour was optional, but headgear was, I had to wear it. And he came out with body armour, like Taekwondo body armour on. So I just ran around him, kicked him. Then anyway, but the first kick I threw, I looked high, faked a punch into running a low kick, and chopped his leg. And he went, ugh! And no one goes, ugh, unless you're useless. And I thought, don't go, ugh, I've got you now. So I kind of fake low, went high, front kicked him, he come running at me. But I was on the mats, he was running around, so you couldn't get caught in the corners. There's no cage or ring. So there was no problem. He hit me a couple of times in the ribs with his big, massive fist, but I just got backed off, and I front kicked him, and then went, looked low, bang, kicked him in the leg again, dropped him once. I won that fight easy. Got a big trophy, and that was it, really. That was my last ever fight in the ring.
Did you know it was time? after that?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
I was in late 20s, nearly 30, and so the guys, you're fighting at 21, 22, and it was getting better. And of course, I didn't have a trainer. I was the coach then, so
Yeah.
you got to look at your own limits and think, why can I go for a South Pacific title? Will I win this? Probably not. Fuck it, I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
Got to be sensible about it.
Yeah. A lot of fighters struggle with that loss of identity when they hang up the gloves. Did you go through that?
No. So it was a kind of means to an end. I really did enjoy fighting. I really, really did. The dieting and the training, I enjoyed it. But I made a goal for myself, was to win either an English title or a Australian title, and I won that. So I was really happy. That was it for me.
Do you think you learn more from winning or losing as a fighter?
Learn more from losing, because you just don't make those same mistakes twice. Like the Melbourne one when I lost weight and rooted the gun, all that stuff. I got flu. All those lessons all in one. I learned the hard way there by getting smashed, and then I'd never made that mistake again for the next fight. I did it all completely properly. I was just being lazy, eating not good food and stuff. So yeah, you do learn a lot from your defeats. From your wins, you learn a lot too.
What do you think you learnt from your defeats?
A lot of people give up after their fight and they lose, but that's not good. You should just keep going. I mean, if you have say 5 fights in a row, then you keep losing, keep getting knocked out. Well, your trainer should turn around and say, "Hey, listen, I don't think you should keep doing this." I've had a couple of those with my boys over the years. My son, he's 16 now. He had a fight when he was 14 and he lost. He was smashing the guy, got caught in the leg, got caught with a leg kick, and the first round, he won the first round, but caught with a leg kick. And I said, look, he's going to do that again. That straight away I said, chase him around the ring or clinch him. Don't let him get the kicking range. And the guy got him in the second round with a leg kick and stopped my son. And I could see the look of disappointment on his face. It was, poor boy was devastated because mum was there and uncle was there and his friends were there. I was like, oh, you poor lad. I said, and then we fought again last year in the Nationals. And it was a gold medal fight. So I said to him, listen, son, you just got to fight this one guy. If you win, you get the gold. If you lose, you get silver. That's a win-win situation. Do your best. And he got stopped in the second round, but he got thrown on the floor. He got front kicked on the floor, and then he got up, and then he got kind of swept and thrown on the floor. And they said 2 knockdowns, and it's over. And then I asked the guys afterwards, he didn't get knocked down with a headshot or anything like that. He just got swept. And they all went, I don't know what's going on there, Queensland. And just, because he's in Queensland, against Queensland fighter. And so he lost that one. He's a bit devastated there, but at least he won a silver medal in the national games, which is good. So we're getting ready for his next fight. But yeah, I try and teach him about my mistakes, and things that I wouldn't do and stuff. But also, I feel for my boy. He's a great fighter. He really is. But because I am who I am, he's got a lot to live up to. He thinks he's got a lot to live up to, I think, because he's Nick Stone's son. I'm quite well known in the game in Sydney and maybe Australia. So people look at your son and think, oh, he's got to be mustard. He's got to be really good. And he's good. But then the pressure is on him a lot. So maybe he'll be a good fighter, maybe it's not. We're just tossing it up now. See how that goes.
You mentioned one of the things that you learnt from losing is to not give up. Do you think resilience is something that you're born with or you can develop?
You can develop that. Yeah, I don't think I was a very resilient kid. In fact, I probably wasn't a very resilient kid. But training trains that into you to go harder, faster, getting motivated and getting pushed by your coach. So down to your coach, really, not your friends, your mum and dad, to be resilient and to keep pushing. And you can do that, you can do these chin-ups, you can do this, you can do that. You can run. You've got to time yourself on runs and spar. And then at the end of the sparring, I say, mate, that guy's had 3 fights and you stood up to him really, really well. Okay, that's good. So sparring for a lot of people is hard. They can't do it. If they know they're going to spar tomorrow, they might not get a lot of sleep that night because they'll be worried about it all the time. It's just sparring. To me, it's nothing. To fighters, it's nothing. But to a student in Thai boxing, sparring, what do I do? How hard do I hit him and stuff? It's very, very hard. They can't get over it. Some people do. But yeah, resilience is built and trained into you, definitely. And like soldier, they train to be tough and hard and to kill and stuff. No one's really born like that, are they? I don't think. Some people are more nasty than others. I had a guy called, he was a fucking nutter, Marco. We're still really good friends. And he come in the first lesson, he said to me, Nick, I want to be known as Travis T. I went, yeah, right, okay, I'll call it. And that was it from then, and that was years on. And he had 8 fights, ended in a state title and won them all, and never took a backward step. And he was just a bit of a psychotic person. I love him to death. We were in the change rooms once, and he said, who am I fighting? I said, oh, it's a guy from Sutherland over there. He said, where's he from? I said, oh, he looks like a bit of a lebo. He goes, I hate fucking wogs. He goes, oi, I fucking hate you wogs. And he's shouting in the change room. I was like, shut up, you can't say that. Now come in. He goes, where's he from? I said, Sutherland. He goes, hey, cuts from Sutherland. I was like, fucking hell, all right, calm down. I had to really shut him up. And no one else is like that, you know. And he got in the ring with this guy once at the Serbian club. And the guy headbutted him like that, head to head. And he kissed him, and the guy leaned back and headbutted him, and he punched him. It was all on. There's like 30 people jumped in the ring, all his fans. And we had a big scrap in the ring. Security come in. They're all waiting for us outside the fight. My guy beat him. That was even worse. I said, we're not going to get out of this place alive. The Serbian club, they kicked about 30 guys out, and they're waiting for us in the car park. We went out the back door and scarpered to our cars.
Incredible.
But yeah, he was in that case. So don't do that again.
You transitioned to coaching and established Bulldog Gym in 1990.
Yep.
How would you describe yourself as a coach?
Of course, like the more knowledge you got, the better. Coaches, I think, for me, fighting as well. I learned so much fighting, you know, all stuff like that. In the fight game, you learn a lot. And of course, I travelled around a fair bit. I trained in England, Thailand, Holland. I went to Poland and trained some guys out in Poland. My wife's half Polish. She went there. She could speak Polish, so she's teaming up at a gym there. Everywhere I go, Spain, France, I check out, you know, when I was younger, I checked out a club, went and trained with those guys. Oh, the way they do that, that's good, that's interesting, you know. So, yeah, knowledge is the key, really, and emulating it, and to the best. I mean, when we first started, people used to wear, like, jeans and T-shirts, like a Bulldog Gym T-shirt. That was it. That was like standard cornerman stuff. But we wore white tracksuits with red and gold stars on, and we all looked exactly the same, looked very professional, because I remember in England, Master Skens Club, they used to do exactly the same thing, looked really professional, acted professional, had all the gear on, all the printed stuff up, looked amazing, all the tracksuits. So I emulated that. Makes a lot of difference what people think, because your reputation just goes 2 steps before you, and then you get that reputation of, oh, Bulldog Gym, I don't want to find those guys, and they're going to beat us, you know, because you've already the mind game as well, that we're way ahead in professionalism. And in the early days of Sydney, I used to get calls from people who go and do seminars for their clubs. They were karate clubs or kickboxing clubs, and I used to go out there and teach them Thai boxing, clinch in and check in and stuff like that. So, you know, my name was out there, as, you know, as someone who really knew the business, but I was way ahead of some people, because I'd been there and done that. And like, I'm 63 now, so when I was in my 30s, I really trained in Thailand loads and made good fighters. Our first 5 years of Bulldog Gym, we cleaned everybody up, really, a lot of good fights. We won loads of titles. Our second 5 years, we won even more and spread out our wings, our gyms opening here, there and everywhere. So yeah, but I know I've really hardly ever missed a day's teaching in 35 years. You know? I do like a 4-day week now, 4.5-day week, and got other guys to teach at the gym, but I'm still there more or less every day, you know.
Do you think you're a better fighter or a better coach?
Coach, yeah, better. Well, I've coached world champions. Like we've won like maybe a dozen world titles, and probably about another 90 other titles, state, Australian, South Pacific, Commonwealth titles. You know, I've been all around the world fighting with my guys. So, and coaching guys, yeah, I think I'm a much better coach than I was a fighter, definitely.
Which one's given you more satisfaction?
Coaching.
Why?
Just see people win and do well and like sort their fucking lives out. It's good, you know, just seeing people who smoke too much weed or drink too much, and you know, they come a couple of years later and say, Nick, you know, you saved my life. I've had that loads of times. It might sound a bit wanky, but the people come up to say, Nick, fucking you helped me out so much when I was young. Like someone to look up to. You made me do this. They made me doggy crawl down the ramp and then piggyback fuckers around the block, you know. And I said, yeah, it was all part of training, but it sorted me out. I stopped smoking weed. I stopped drinking some. I did this, and you know, I get off on that. I think that's fantastic. Helping people as well. Like, you know, if you help someone, that's fantastic. Coaching is a lot about helping people. You do become a mentor for a lot of people. You can't help everybody, but you do become a mentor for a lot of people, and they look up to you as well. I mean, we have a laugh and a joke in the gym, and that, you know, get a few drinks and stuff. But yeah, I just hope I'm doing a bit of good that way with, you know, especially the young kids as well. I'm tough on them as well, and hopefully they'll grow up, you know, a little bit more responsible or look after themselves. I hate bullying too. We've had a lot of things about bullying. A dad to bring his son in, said, like, my son's getting bullied at school. I said, right, this is what we're going to do, right? Video him hitting the pads now with me, and then put it on Instagram and say, son's getting tough at Bulldog. Just say that, and you'll fucking notice the bullies melt away. You know, now my son's never been picked on at all. He's small and he's Thai, because we adopted him from Thailand, and no one's ever picked him. His reputation has gone 5 steps before him. You know, all his mates, all the people in school know who Samed is. That it's a person not to be messed with, but he's a nice kid and he helps other people out. And I say, you see some fucker getting bullied, go and sort it out. But Yeah, got a lot of kids, especially, and girls. We had an anti-bullying program, a freebie. Bring your child in for an anti-bullying 2-hour session. And we had like 35 kids come into the local neighbourhood. So all just around, and it's good for the gym. So yeah, and I put that on Instagram. Watch you holding pads, watch them hitting pads, and just say that, and then how word to get around. But a lot of the time, I've got one of my good mates now, Glenn. I trained his son, Luke. He was getting bullied at school, big lad, and I said, look, this is not working, Luke. I said, you know what I've got to do tomorrow morning? I said, I've come to the end of this with all this training. I said, you got to punch this guy in the fucking head. And he said, I'm not sure what to do. I said, listen, just if he comes up to you and says anything, just clench your right fist. As soon as he comes near, just smack him as hard as you can, straight in the face, all right? And if he stands up, and just keep smacking him. And you know what that took? One punch. The guy fell over, walked away, and they never bullied him again. And his school life went from being completely shit and depressed to really, really good. Now the kid's doing really, really well. And his dad said, you saved his life. I said, I didn't save his life. But I changed everything in that one instant. Just by saying, I said, just do it. Just hit him. You can do it. And we worked on that single punch for ages. That held the pad for him. Bang. No, like this. Push him. Bang. And it just works, Not bullies don't bully fighters, and bullies get punched in the face. They don't bully you again. And a lot of people these days, oh no, you've got to go anti-bullying classes. You've got to have this. You've got to have that. Not all the time. I do feel sorry for people that are bullied, and it happens a lot, But some people just got to stand up for themselves.
You train lots of national and international champions.
Yeah.
What
have done, yeah.
What do you look for in someone that you think is going to
consistency?
Go far?
Consistency, mate. That's one thing they've got to do. Not on and off, People train hard, fight, go out in the piss. Train hard, fight, go out there like this. You've got to be consistent all the time. Keep your fitness going. Keep your nutrition going, and just be kind of focused on what you're doing. Steve McKinnon was obviously my most accomplished fighter. If you ever watch anybody who's listening to this podcast, Steve McKinnon's highlights or Stuart McKinnon's highlights, his brother, both two of my best ever fighters, both two of my best friends. They're monsters, and they trained really, really hard. Steve won, he defended his world title 8 times, fought all around the world, Jamaica, Holland, all over the place, Milan, and that. Fought in Glory, which is like the UFC of kickboxing. And he's super fit, super hard, tough, super dedicated, And it's a mixture of him of fitness, nutrition, meditation. He's got everything in his armory. No one can really hurt him. He's a great fighter, Steve. He's a standout. But I think for Steve, it's consistency. Ever since I met him, to this very day, he's been consistent with what he does. He's super fit. Great guy. Hardly ever took a backward step. Hardly lost as well.
Nick, the theme of the podcast is coming back from adversity.
Yeah.
Next question is a 2-pronged question. What would you say your greatest comeback has been in the ring?
Yep.
And then what would you say your greatest comeback has been outside the ring?
Okay. Well, the ring was that when I got hammered in Melbourne. And although it's completely my fault, I completely made a comeback on that, as we previously discussed, and won the Australian title in my very next fight. Mm-hmm. And then I never looked back. And I knew what I'd done wrong, and I adjusted everything sensibly. I could have fallen into a pit of fucking self-disgust and then not done it again, but I didn't. And that is come back off anything is you've just got to try harder the second time and rectify your mistakes, which I did 100%, and won. And I was so happy when I won that fight. I was fucking over the fucking moon. And my one in my personal life was to do with drugs, and the comeback out of that basically saved my life. So the story to that was, we've got a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so the story to that was I was smoking a lot of weed when I was young. Of course, weed leads to snorting speed. Cocaine wasn't a thing, or MDMA when I was a kid, but speed leads to mushrooms, leads to acid, leads to smoking opium, and probably can lead to fucking smoking heroin, But I never tried heroin. But I got to the stage when I was doing acid all the time and mushrooms, and had a fucking great time, and smoking dope every day. No blow, no go was our motto. I hang around with a lot of friends. I think I was 19. I've been smoking dope for quite a few years, and I think I really enjoyed it. Then one night, when I was on acid and mushrooms, I think we'd been over the woods all night, just running around like lunatics, me and all my friends around the bonfire and listening to music, and like you do. We nearly had a punch up on the way home with some guys, and I went home and I was buzzing, and I went back to my bedroom, and to calm down, because I was quite nervy, being on acid, LSD and mushrooms, which anybody out there, I'd recommend you don't take them if you haven't taken them before. I'd just fucking leave that one alone because it's great fun. It can be. If anybody you've ever done trips or mushrooms before, it can be a lot of fun. But then also it's got that double-edged sword of completely ruining your life, which it did to me. So I had a bit of hash and I smoked this hash to calm down, which was probably a big mistake. And all of a sudden, I freaked out. And what I know now, what happened then, was a panic attack. But I didn't know what a panic attack was. I'd never had one before. And I fucking shit myself. And I felt completely different. Like my whole world had been turned upside down. I thought the air was going to split open and a monster was going to come out and fucking devour me. I thought, what is going on here? I was like that with my parents' door at like 5 a.m. to go take me to hospital. I need to go to hospital. I didn't. I got through it and I think I went to sleep and I was so scared and I didn't know what it was. I was really scared anyway. So when I woke up in the morning, my eyes open. I thought, oh, thank fuck that's over. And I took a breath in and went, oh, it's not. And I felt different. My whole personality felt different. And I was very scared all of a sudden when I woke up. And that started like a 3-month schizophrenic attack, which I thought people talk about me. But I thought I can't live like this after a week of feeling completely different. So can you imagine that? Waking up in the morning and feeling like a different person. I was nervy, scared, not outgoing, blah, 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 blah. Couldn't talk to my parents. I was like fucking worried about everything. Couldn't sleep because I didn't want to shut my eyes. My whole world had changed in one night. And what it was, I was having a schizophrenic attack. And in the end, I forced myself to go to the doctors after a couple of weeks of this. Of course, my smart friends go, no, just do another trip. You'll be all right. Thank fuck I didn't do another trip, you know. So I stopped smoking weed and everything. And I went to the doctor. And the doctor goes, oh, so you smoked drugs and took LSD. You think that's funny, you young man? You're doing it for kicks. And I had to say to the guy, please, can you help me out? I'm fucking in a bad way here. I don't want to be told off. And he said, all right, give me a script to go and see a psychologist, right? Straight down there, went to see a government psychologist. And he was a normal guy in his 40s, well-dressed, and sat me down and said, just tell me all about it. And I went, blah, exactly what happened. Don't tell me any lies, tell me exactly what you've taken, blah, blah. And I told him everything. And he understood, and he helped me out, and he talked me through it. And I felt after that hour or so session with the psychologist, my whole weight had been lifted off my mind. Because basically he just told me you're going to be okay. It will get better. So he just reassured me, which is good. So if I've had a few friends over the years get fucked up a bit on drugs, and I reassure them and say, you know, you'll be fine. Don't worry, you'll be okay. And I felt a lot better. And I went to see him again, and he said, just don't take any more drugs. He said the LSD and stuff still sticking in your brain. It's going to give you little flashbacks, blah, blah, blah. And just take your drugs. He goes, what are you doing with your life? And I said, well, I'm going to Australia pretty soon. And I was 20 then. I'm going to go to Australia with one of my mates. He's a surfer and he wants to check out the surf. And I'm going to go and see my sister over there and just check out. I've never been there. He goes, oh, wow, that sounds fantastic. Come back and see me. And he gave me some Largactals to get me to sleep. But I was then, fuck, I'm taking these drugs to get over a drug-related problem. And I threw them away. I can do this on my own, you know. And I decided then and there I wouldn't take any more drugs because I contemplated suicide. Me. And I hate the thought of committing suicide. What a stupid thing. Would have ruined my whole fucking life. Now I'm 63. If I'd killed myself when I was 20, I would have missed out on 40 years of having fun. And I've had a great life too. You know, travelled the world, done what I wanted to do, got a fantastic wife, fantastic child. And I could have killed myself just over drugs. It's fucking ridiculous. So anyway, I come to Australia and my eyes completely opened to a different way of life. And by the time I'd spent a few months over here, I come back to England, I was more or less cured. I was out of my depression. Didn't take drugs anymore. I did, after a while, I did actually go for the house period, you know, raving and that a little bit. But smoking weed, taking LSD, no. Downers, weed, LSD, mushrooms, no. They're too psychoactive. Done a bit of MDMA, that was great, it's fantastic, but other drugs, but now, no, not at all, nothing. So yeah, it kind of cured me, and that's why I fell in love with Australia, because it cured my depression and my wanting to kill myself in about 3 months. I went back to England and just raving about Australia, so that cured my depression, really, Australia did, you know. So that was a bit of a comeback from there, because I'm not fucking kidding you, I was on the brink of killing myself, contemplated how to do it, looked into how you do it, because I couldn't go on. I felt myself, I cannot go on the rest of my life living this thought in my head. I can't go on. I just can't go on. I know how people feel when they're depressed. I can't go on feeling like this. But it does change with therapy and changing your outlook on life as well. You know, so if anybody's out there going through a hard time with drugs or weed or booze or gambling or whatever, you can change it. You have to change it yourself. You know, I mean, other people can help. Therapy is a great thing. You're talking to someone who knows what they're doing. They've studied alcoholism or gambling or drugs, and they can give you advice on how to make yourself feel better. And the brain can change. You can train your brain. It's an amazing thing.
Mate, we're on the final straight in terms of the conversation. This has been a great conversation. Thank you. You and your wife, you've spoken about your son and your wife. You adopted your son in Thailand.
Yeah.
You've always been known, certainly as a fighter, as a hard man. How do you think fatherhood has changed you over the years?
Oh, it softened me up, I dare say, a fair bit, you know, having a kid, because I couldn't have children naturally, so we adopted, you know. We tried and tried. But, you know, having him come into my life was just fantastic. You know, he was 1.5 years old, you know, it's innocent, couldn't speak English, and all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, the adoption period took a few years, but then all of a sudden, they hand you a small child and go, there you go, you're off. They went to the orphanage, picked him up, he was out there in 45 minutes, you know. And then we were like, oh, okay, what do we do now? And you become a parent immediately, you know. It's a fantastic feeling. Yeah, and it softened me up, definitely, you know. But it's the best thing ever. Having children, obviously the best thing. Best thing ever, I think, having a kid. It's the love of my life, you know.
How do you think your relationship with fear has evolved over the years?
With fear?
Yeah.
Well, being a fighter, it really helps with fear because you learn to overcome obstacles like fear. You have to overcome it. A lot of people, you know, like fighter's flu, you've heard of that, it's like a psychosomatic thing when people give themselves flu and the shakes and stuff. They think they're coming down with illness because the brain knows it's got to fight, you know. So fear is something you just got to keep treading through and overcome by facing it, basically. One of my fighters said to me, Nick, he got to the fight night, he said, is it normal to want to crash your car into a tree on the way here? I went, yes and no, but I understand the way you're feeling. He goes, I just want to get out of it. You know, I said, mate, you're going to fucking do it and you're going to do well. And I don't care if you win or lose, you're just going to do it. And then you'll overcome that fear. And that does help, you know. Working on the door, I overcome the fear of violence a fair bit. When I first started working on the door of Melbourne, I was a bit hesitant. And then after years of arguing with people and having fights and stuff, because you train and you know you can fight, and then when it does come to a knuckle, you win. I've hardly ever been bested on the door. I've hardly ever taken a smack or two, really, and always done okay because I was sober, and you're fighting with drunks half the time. And you throw people out, and they don't want to fight you. They might take a little stupid swing at you. But the fear of overcoming violence takes time, I think, as well. I'm not really a violent person. I do lose my temper now and again, but you know, I was known as being quite nice, and you know, mate, I don't want to fight you. I give people a chance before I elbowed them, you know. Or they'd have to have a swing at me first, or at least try and grab me. As soon as they did this on, and I wouldn't let them. You know, if someone just put their hand in my face, or, you know, or spat at me, I'd just smack them straight away. You know, I mean, I want to take no shit off no one. You can't do that, you know. But that's in those days, and things have changed now with the door work. You know, you can't hit people anymore. You got to physically restrain them. I train a few doormen. One of my guys, a guy punched him in the face, probably hit him. My guy took it and went smack and smacked him back and dropped him, and he got done. It's all on video. The cop said, you can't do that. It's unmeasured force. He said, he hit me in the face. I hit him back. No. And he got written up, but he didn't get an assault charge against him. The guy tried to do him for assault. See, that's pussy. That's just so out of order. You get pissed. You punch the bouncer knocks you out, and then you moan about it. That's just, he deserved to get punched again. You know, it's ridiculous. You know, he assaulted me. No, you assaulted me first. You know. Anyway, I've seen that 1,000 times. It's very annoying.
Do you get scared for your fighters?
No, not really. No, I don't. No, I don't. I used to. I'd be very nervous in the backstage, but now I've done it so many millions of times. I don't. I'm very calm. Yeah, they probably think I'm a bit too calm. I think, but now I try and sit back and give them a bit of advice, and I get a guy to warm them up, to give them a rub down with the hot oil and warm them up on the pads, and then, you know, then I come in at the last minute, I grease their faces, put the mouth guard in and say, listen, you've got to do this, you've trained hard. And then I walk them out to the ring and I give them, the cornerman's work is very, very important, because you've got to look at the other person, way he's fighting, and look at his mistakes and tell your guy, you've got to do this, and you've got to trust me when I yell out, go, you've got to throw that right hand and keep throwing it, you know, and then go left or whatever. I said, because I'm looking at this other guy making mistakes, I'm not looking at you. I know what you can do, you know. So as a cornerman and a coach, it's very important. You can read a fight and stuff. Now, we do a lot of maybe the first, second fights not too much, but some of the guys have 4 or 5 fights. We look at their videos and go, okay, well, look, he's fit, but he's a puncher, so let's clinch him a bit more. Let's kick his legs first and go with the clinch and don't stand and trade with him. You know, so you've got to work out a little bit of a plan for each fight, whether they stick to it or not, because common sense goes out the window when you're fighting because you just get that tunnel vision. But it takes a while. You know, I got a guy, Craig Lambert, had 50-odd fights. On the plane to Perth, he was like this, shaking like a leaf. And I said, "Are you all right?" He goes, "I'm just so nervous." "Mate, you've had 50 fights. What are you doing?" And he just can't help it. You know? But he was a great fighter. When he got in the ring, he was really, really good. You know, tough as anything. You know, super tough. So yeah, everybody's different. You know, but you can get better with time and training. You know? Training definitely.
Yeah. Nick, last question. You've faced lots of adversity over the years in both the ring and outside of the ring. What would you want people to know about adversity, irrespective of whether they're fighting in the ring or in life?
Yeah. Well, it can be overcome with the correct training or therapy. I think anything can be overcome with the correct training and therapy, I'd say. And the most difficult things in life can be overcome, but you've got to focus on overcoming it. This day and age, with your TikTok and everybody's on a fucking 15-second fix, aren't they? You know, and some things take time, especially if it's a personal problem like drugs, alcohol. I mean, put it this way: drugs, alcohol, emotional abuse, blah blah blah. They all can be overcome with therapy and training, and to try and change your mindset. You know, it's so easy for me to say, change your circle of friends. And if you don't like them, for a kid, it's more or less impossible, isn't it? To say, right, fuck you, like, I'm not going to go out with another load of guys. You just can't do that sometimes. So, I've got a kid at the gym now. Oh man, he's a dope smoking kid and he loves his training, but he's just not listening, and I really feel for his parents. You know, we had a lot of problems with him, not in the gym, but there are a lot of problems, and I feel so sorry for him. He loves his training, he loves it, but he just doesn't want to go because he's got a load of dope smoking mates and he's getting into trouble and stuff. So he needs, I keep telling him, try this. Just needs help all the time. Some people more than others, you know.
Yeah.
A bit dense, maybe. I don't know. It's thick. You can't do it. So everybody's different, aren't they? Look, you know, it's. But yeah, with hard training, therapy, training conquers a lot of things because it clears your mind, gives you direction. You know, you don't want to go out and get that stoned, that pissed, or you know, the majority of the time it is chemicals or alcohol, so that cause a lot of these problems in the first place that you're going through, anxiety, problems, relationships. It's all caused by certain things, and a lot of them all got that common catalyst of drugs and alcohol, which can be overcome. Yeah. Abstinence, training, mindset, stuff like that. Yeah.
Nick, this has been a great conversation.
Cool.
Thanks for coming on. It sounds like you've changed a lot of lives.
Hopefully, yeah.
And the insights and the wisdom that you've shared with us today, I think people will go away and really appreciate. Good. Really appreciate you doing the podcast.
You do. If you've got any problems, sort them out, guys.
How do people get in contact with you if they want to pick up?
My gym's in Balgowlah, Northern Beaches.
Okay.
So we've got a full-time gym there. So yeah, you can just have a look at www.thaiboxing.com.au. It's got all our numbers on there. So check out our website and go from there. If you want to train, more than welcome.
Good on you. Thanks for being on the podcast. All right.